What about the number 3 mystery? Unexplained flying objects.
Say, have you all had any reports of unknown flying objects over there? No, we haven't. Oh, okay, we're wondering. We supposedly are having quite an invasion over here.
While conducting research at the National Archives, Sam Sherman discovered a declassified audio tape, rare government documentation of a UFO sighting.
On October 7th, 1965, at Edwards Air Force Base in California, the air traffic controller noticed odd luminous objects coming over the field.
Roger, we have a possible radar contact now, range of 3 miles, green, red, and white flashing lights.
According to Sherman, these objects were picked up on radar at 8 different defense locations across the western U.S. Fearing enemy craft, the Air Force launched their own planes to investigate.
This thing just, bing, went up, evaded him, and that was it.
Accounts of unidentified lights in the sky date back at least to the Middle Ages.
They weren't called UFOs, they weren't called flying saucers, but certainly they would be the same type of phenomena. It's been there throughout history if you know how to look and where to look.
Human interpretations of UFOs have changed with the times. Medieval sightings were interpreted as signs from God. 18th century naturalists called them gas and plasma. During the Industrial Revolution, these sightings became machines and aircraft. And with the space age came the era of the flying saucer.
I am here to discuss the so-called flying saucers.
By 1948, sightings of UFOs by credible witnesses were so numerous that the Air Force decided to investigate. For over 2 decades, Project Blue Book collected information on 12,600 reported cases of objects in the sky, from weather balloons to meteorological events. In 1969, the project was shut down with this statement.
We have, as of date, come to only one firm conclusion, and that is that it does not contain any conceivable threat to the United States.
It's important to make the distinction between the question, are there extraterrestrial intelligences somewhere in the universe, and have they actually come here?
There are thousands, even tens of thousands of sightings around the world annually, but most of these, of course, everyone would admit, 90%, even high 90s%, that these are natural phenomena. Many people don't even realize that the stars actually appear to move during the night.
Misidentification is rampant, but ufologists insist that alien crafts bear uniform traits.
They move in ways that airplanes just don't move in. We're talking right-angle turns, stop on a dime, hover, go straight up in the air, come down in weird floating patterns like a leaf.
But we don't know what extraterrestrial or other intelligence
come down in weird floating patterns like a leaf.
extraterrestrial or other intelligence type craft should look like. But we know what our own stuff looks like. If we find something up there which doesn't obey the laws of physics as we know it, we can say that they belong to somebody else. Somebody else knows something we don't.
On September 19, 1961, Betty and Barney Hill were driving through New Hampshire around midnight when they claimed to have spotted a pancake-shaped light with 2 rows of windows that appeared to be following them. 2 hours later, Barney and Betty woke up 35 miles south of where they had stopped. Under hypnosis, nightmare images of having hair, fingernail, and skin samples removed, and descriptions of small gray aliens came flooding back. The Hill story was the first the world heard of unexplained mystery number 2. Since that night in 1961, thousands more have come forward with the claim that they too were the victims of alien abductions and experiments.
An abduction experience is fast, efficient, very traumatic to the person, and very often the memory of it is partially wiped out.
Debate in the field of hypnosis throws the accuracy of recalled abduction memories into question.
This is a case of false memories planted by therapists through this guided imagery, this fantasy role-playing, because that's what hypnosis is. It's fantasy role-playing between the hypnotist and the subject.
But hypnotherapists believe that they can prove that a hypnotized subject will not simply go along with a guided story.
In a given hypnotic session, I can ask probably 10, 20 leading questions, false leads, and I've never had anybody slip up.
Since most described abductions occur in bed at night, skeptics dismiss the phenomenon as sleep paralysis.
This occurs when a person is in that funny in-between state between just falling asleep and just being awake. During that state, your body is usually paralyzed, but your mind is awake. Apparently the dream mechanism is kind of kicking on, so you're having these dreams, but you're awake but paralyzed.
There's a lot of attendant other things which do not go along with sleep paralysis. For instance, if you have a group of people who have been taken from different places into the same craft, when they're dressed, sometimes they go back in somebody else's clothes. A woman who had a running suit on when she went to bed or doesn't own a nightgown, when they put her back in bed, she was wearing somebody's fancy nightgown that she was terrified to find.
For Beth Collings and Anna Jamerson, the proof is in the memories. They say they have been abducted together, and more than once.
Beth and I have many recollections of experiences where we have been abducted together. And one morning, we were both feeling pretty sick, and I said, something happened. And she says, well, last night the aliens were there, and I saw them inject something in the back of your neck. Can I check the back of your neck underneath your hair? I said, sure, you won't find anything. But she did. There was a hole in the back of my neck exactly where she had seen them inject me with something into the back of my brain.
I thought being crazy would be preferable to telling anyone, even Anna, that this is what I remembered. I couldn't pretend that it didn't happen, and I couldn't forget what I remembered.
When you have evidence like that, it's very hard not to believe that you are really being abducted. And I know I'm being abducted.
After I had gone through so many cases and seen so much trauma and so much physical evidence, I, at some point, was asked, do you really believe all this? And I said, with sadness, I realize I no longer have the luxury of disbelief.